can you think of one issue where you are against the Republican platform and what the Republican Party has historically stood for?
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. They're just, if that's what they're saying, and I haven't seen any of these comments yet, that's just pure politics, and it's bad ethics, right? It's unethical because it's not true. And so it's not about right or left, right? Free markets are indisputably the cause of our wealth. China right now is the perfect case in point. They're feeding 1.2 billion people for the first time in world history due to only one thing: answer, free markets, right? So we as Republicans, that's the number one issue in our creed, and that is a compassionate position.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the man who beat Eric Cantor in the primary in Virginia yesterday that's causing the political earthquake. And now it's time for the Malzberg panel. By the way, that was Dave Bratt. And joining us now on the Malzberg panel, you know him, you love him. He's the co-host of Steele and Ungar, Rick Ungar. That's show, of course, on XM Sirius Radio. And in this corner, we have a columnist for Breitbart.com and American Thinker, C. Edmund Wright. Hello, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, Steve.
All right, Edmund, let me ask you.
Yeah.
Why did Eric Cantor lose? Earlier we had Tim Muleskamp, who said, yes, it was immigration, but it was so much more. It's a reflection on John Boehner. It's a reflection on Republican leadership, and it's going to resonate. What's your take?
Well, as someone who wrote a book on the Republican establishment, I totally agree with what Tim Muleskamp said. Immigration was clearly the biggest issue. It's the issue that Barack Obama, quite frankly, overplayed his hand on, by allowing all this trouble on the border. And I do think this trouble's on him. And I think that really motivated and animated the base of the Republican Party and the Tea Party people, especially those concerned with immigration issues. But you're right, this is a bigger overall repudiation of Washington, of Boehner, of McConnell, of Cantor, of the entire Republican establishment. So it's all of the above, Steve.
Rick?
I think Tim Mulescamp's very busy campaigning for something today. It's interesting how he answered that question, because we know that he would like to fill Eric Cantor's job.
Well, actually, he said he wants to spend time with his family, and he doesn't see any leadership role. But go ahead.
What a shocking answer. He wants to spend time with his family as he's a member of Congress. In any event, no, I actually, contrary to a lot of opinion, I don't think it was as much immigration as some people want to say. Look, immigration was dead, certainly for the rest of the Obama term before this election yesterday, and it's still dead today. I think what we're going to find out as we look closer at this, there are some elements of what Edmund said, repudiation of leadership in the Republican Party, et cetera. But at the end of the day, I would predict this. What probably did Eric Cantor more harm than anything else was the fact that he was not in his district yesterday when people were going to the polls to vote. People in that district have been sensitive to him being out of touch. They write him a letter. They got a form letter back in return. He's a congressman. He's not even a senator, and he's not even a congressman anymore. I think that will prove to have been pivotal. They knew that he was at a Starbucks fundraiser in Washington, D.C. on Election Day, not where he should have been, which is his home district.
I do buy into that to a certain extent. However, his opponent made immigration and amnesty, and the charge that Eric Cantor wanted amnesty and was pushing amnesty. He made that the primary issue, and also, I mean, the guy was going to be the next Speaker of the House. So, you make allowances. If you get the almighty, powerful Speaker of the House as your congressman, you might overlook that he's in a Starbucks in D.C. and not in the district on the day you're voting. How many people knew that he wasn't in the district? I don't know. When I vote, I don't know where my congressman is. So, I mean, what do you think, Edmund? Do you think, I think it sends a clear message to Republican leadership on a variety of issues, but I think specifically on the issue of amnesty and immigration.
Well, I wouldn't actually separate the issues. I mean, I think the Starbucks story, and I have no idea how many Virginia voters knew that, but I think that just points out that's part of the bigger picture. That is actually a repudiation of the establishment, that they're all about Starbucks in downtown D.C., and they're not anything about their districts, wherever their districts may be. So actually, that was just illustrating the bigger point, that it was a repudiation of the establishment.
Yeah, look, I mean, it was a great campaign line, I suppose, to say that Eric Cantor was this big friend of immigration. It's kind of funny, considering that you would be hard-pressed to find anyone who is supportive of a change in immigration who would agree that Eric Cantor was their friend. He's simply not. He was never for it. He talked about the DREAM Act maybe having some impact 20 years from now. Hardly a guy pushing some radical immigration agenda. There was a lot at play here. And look, what I think should be very disconcerting is that their new candidate apparently doesn't have a position yet on minimum wage, which I don't know if you saw that interview, but it was pretty shocking this morning. He was on MSNBC of all places, and he would not give a straight answer on minimum wage after making a speech about how he's a devout free marketer. Steve, you're a devout free marketer.
Here's the deal. They apparently, according to his answer, he was told the parameters were set.
But he wasn't.
He
wasn't.
Says who? You believe Chuck Todd?
No, I didn't hear from Chuck Todd.
He said, I thought this interview was going to be about the celebration and the victory. And Chuck Todd gave this smirk after they played that to make, again, it's starting. Wait, it's starting. They're trying to make this guy look like an idiot, because he's a Republican.
Nice
Come
try.
on.
MSNBC has already issued a statement. They did it at 11 o'clock this morning, stating that under no circumstances did they ever suggest that there was going to be anything limited about the interview. You're too smart to fall for that, Steve.
Really?
Let's keep it reasonable
From a network that has been from a network that has repeatedly been accused of editing to make Republicans look foolish.
And that's relevant to this.
It's not irrelevant to this.
He was on the Chuck Todd show. Do you know Chuck Todd to be about anything other than, and let me go a step further.
Anything other than what? Can't finish.
Issues, policy.
Chuck Todd has a very big liberal bias, and I could quote you chapter and verse from him.
Bias. Did you watch the interview? Did you?
I watched the snippet that they played and mocked.
Did you watch the interview?
No, I did not.
Well, I did from the very first second. And the gentleman came out not asking for, thanking his supporters from the start. He talked about two things. His first thing was the 6 tenets of the Republican Party that he believes in, and was awake enough to list all 6. And he followed that with a lecture on free market principles. Fine. But why is he doing that if what he's supposed to be there for? It's nonsense. You know it's nonsense.
No, I don't have any. How would I know it's nonsense? All I have is the man's word that I saw him utter, and he said on TV, I thought this was just going to be about the victory.
Then why didn't he say that when he was asked the question about minimum wage? And his response was, and it's right on tape, his response was, no, I haven't crafted an answer to that yet. Has that got something to do with him being there for another reason?
He's not a professional politician. So wait, let me finish.
He's an
economist. He's a teacher. So excuse me if he didn't have it out polished enough for you and Chuck Todd. We're coming back, folks. Here's how you can contact us on social media.